My name is Shurwat. I work for the International Chamber of Commerce. It's under the Qatar Chamber. My, I'm really shy. My job revolves around launching policy commissions and creating events to sort of like raise awareness of the different issues that could be relevant or could help support me launching the commissions. I also work on a lot of policy work. And yeah, that's it. That's my introduction. So I was asked to present on. So one of the 14 tasks under the people domain is address and remove impediments, obstacles, and blockers for your team. So I was asked to give a distinction of what each word means and what's the difference between them. Okay, so yeah. So the three words could really be used interchangeably. It means they all sort of mean the same thing, but they really don't. In the PM book, impediment means an obstacle that prevents the team from achieving its objective. It's also known as a blocker. So I looked up the differences online. Impediments means something that could slow down or hinder the progress of the project. Obstacle means that it's something that could be like something like it hinders the project, but you can move around it or anticipate it and plan and create a strategy so that you can get over this obstacle. And then blockers is something that completely stops and halts the project. So the basic approach to overcome the project impediments, the obstacles and blockers, I listed down a few things, but I'll go into the approaches in the next slide in more details. So it's just understanding what the issue is, understanding its impact, find out what the team has done already to try and overcome the issue or resolve it, find out who needs to be aware of the issue, who will be taking responsibility to lead the resolution process for the blocker or the obstacle or impediment, what steps can be taken, and how will you follow up, and what are the lessons learned. So that's just an overview of the approach once you're confronted with an impediment, a blocker, or an obstacle. So for a project manager, there's two approaches. So in the first scenario, a project manager could find out what the issue, like once it's brought to their awareness, they could ask for all the information, and then they'll pick up the phone and they will try to find a solution, and they usually act on it by themselves. That's the first scenario, and they propose the issue to their team. In the second scenario, once the project manager finds out what the issue is, they first acknowledge that there's an issue. They will apologize for it, and they can tell the stakeholders that they promise it won't happen again if it's external. And then they'll sit together with the team. They'll communicate what happened, what happened to get to this issue, and then they will talk about it collectively to find a solution. So there's two ways that could be where an obstacle or a blocker or an impediment could be addressed. In both scenarios, the project managers are committed to solving the issue. However, the difference here is in the process or the approach, but the PM book uses the word process. In the first scenario, there's a drawback. It's that the project manager dealt with the issue himself. He sat in his office and the issue came to his awareness. He dealt with it himself. But in the second scenario, the project manager went to the team. They tried to go to the nearest place to where the issue originated from, which is in Japanese, it's called gemba. The gemba is the place itself that's what it translates to. But the reason why the project manager in the second scenario went to the gemba is because he wanted to get closer to the ground truth. So the ground truth will help the project manager understand the gravity of the issue, the reality of it, and like try to like comprehend like exactly what happened. And whereas in the first scenario, usually like the project manager will be sitting in his office, he'll be given third-party accounts, he'll be given graphs, the data, but he doesn't really prioritize going to the place where the issue originated. So that's the difference here in the process part, because the second scenario, when you get closer to the issue, you're able to comprehend it more, and you have more knowledge, more information. You're communicating with the people involved with the issue. Yeah. So the bottom line of my presentation, and it says here, let me hide this part. Yeah. Okay, never mind. So the bottom line is how?
Thank you. It's easy. It only works with my fingerprint.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, now you can go there. This is yours, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the bottom line is, to summarize everything, the closer you get to the ground truth, the more you can get to the Gemba, and consequently, the more effective you can be at resolving the real problem that we get on a day-to-day day-to-day on our projects. So in the first scenario, I also want to highlight that usually the project manager might make a lot of assumptions when coming up with the resolution with the solution, and so it could sometimes not be effective. It could sometimes be short term. It could be like a plaster. Whereas when you're sitting with a team and you're collectively working with every member, then you can make something that's more effective. So that's how I got to the bottom line, and that's what I found online. Any questions?
Are you good, guys?
Was I clear?
Are you cool? Amin doesn't like what happened. No, he likes what happened.
Was it any online people? Any in the first slide? Yeah. Go over the definitions. Okay, so the impediment. Oh, okay, Oh, I don't know any examples. A block. Okay, for example, like a blocker could be like. So, for example, if I initiate a project and a blocker was that. For example, for me, we wanted to work with a company that offers trade finance services. But then I spoke to our headquarters, and I told them I think there might be a conflict of interest here. It's a great project, but there might be a conflict of interest because our headquarters already launched a similar project, so we could not go ahead with it. So they told me there could be a conflict of interest. However, we can sort of like get them to work with us on the already established project. So this was a project blocker for me. We could not go ahead with the exact project. However, now we're trying to like renew it, but that's not the point. The point is that the project is blocked entirely. So we can't go ahead with it. We have to drop it. But we want to work with them, so we're trying to find a different way. So that's a project blocker, right?
Yes. 100%.
Okay. An obstacle. So my director and my manager don't have the same vision when working together. So whenever I want like an approval on something, I will go to my director because I know she's more likely to say yes to me than my project manager. So that's my obstacle. But like I'm going around it, so I'm still gonna do what I want to do. It's within the confinement of what my organization wants to accomplish. So that's an obstacle. So I'll move around things. My impediment is something, for example, like if I submit, an impediment would be something like if I have a schedule and I set for myself that the press conference is going to take place in January 7th, okay? But then the organization that I'm working with, for example, they have deliverables that they have to submit to me, and they're very, very slow. So then they could slow down my schedule, and I will have to then postpone my press conference.
Other questions?
Was I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I will give more simple
Yeah.
example, so to make it more clear now. Any other questions? All good? Check online, guys.
Online, guys, any question?
No, crystal clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
We take the example of the blocker. It means that something that causes work to stop. It will affect, of course, the project.
Yeah.
So either a project will be stopped or
Yeah. Now, just to make sure that all of those key should be removed from the project team members' way of doing the work. And the project manager is responsible for removing all of those. You should not work having those three because you don't want work to slow down, you don't want the project to be blocked, and you don't want the other case
To
things
slow
that you
down.
have to remove from the work. I'll give an example. Thank you so much. Next time you will be more open for the discussion. Guys, for example, if you're thinking about that from, let's say, who's an architect, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you an architect? You want to be an architect, huh? We have an architect online. Wait. أيوة, seems to. Oh, yes. This is an architecture course, أصلاً. Just to confirm, guys. Okay, cool, guys. So, from our industry, I think it will be close to yours as well. If you're working in a project or in an environment and you want to measure against the blockers, for example, if you have to work on a project, a construction project, from let's say the design or design development phase, you need to have a certain software. Let's say your organization is using CAD process. We have two processes, either CAD or BIM. Those are the two. You're usually working in CAD processes, and the new project is requiring you to use BIM using a certain software, which is Revit. You don't have Revit. Is it a blocker? You don't have that software. You cannot work on the project. It blocked you from working on the project. What should the project manager do? Purchase the Revit software, correct?
It will not stop the progress, it will slow down the progress till you get this.
لا, you cannot أصلا work. You have to work in Revit. How you will work? How will open the files?
It will stop the progress temporarily.
لا بس the other things to stop يعني designing.
I said design development. يعني which means I am in the IFC stage, let's say. Yeah, you have all of that done. You have to use software now.
Okay.
Cool. So it blocked you from the يعني it blocked the project and you cannot proceed. Correct? Something slows down the project. Yeah, خلاص ما هو I am the project manager. I have removed all that. I removed it already. It blocked me. The obstacles, it will not block you. This blocked me. I cannot work. I don't have the software. And this is the simplest example I can give. It's yes, it looks silly, but it's a blocker. Obstacle, you can work. You can still work. Which means I will go to the next level of obstacle. Okay, the obstacle, you have the software, but it is cracked. While there is a certain step you need to do within the project which requires a licensed software. For example, the software Revit itself and BIM. If you have to work on cloud, you have to have a licensed version for the guy who will be initiating the process on cloud. And in order to click on that option, collaborate on cloud, it should be a licensed software. You cannot use a cracked one. From Autodesk, they blocked that. It's not a blocker. You will ask me, it blocked us, we cannot work. No, you can work locally. It's okay, you can move forward. So I have to purchase that license to click collaborate in cloud. Once I collaborate in cloud, your work will be there. So you can move forward. It did not slow you down and not blocked you, but you have to remove this. Correct?
It will not slow down.
No, you are working locally on your network. It's okay. And once you have that purchased license, you can move what you have done on the local software, on the local server, on the cloud by one click. So it did not slow you down.
What if we'll take the two cases? It will slow down and it will push you to solve it and to go around. It could be same, right?
It's obstacle.
Sometimes
About impediment you mean? I'm going with the impediment now. Don't worry. It's something that slows you down. If you are working with hardware that doesn't comply with the minimum requirements for the software to run smoothly. For example, Autodesk Revit, it's asking you for a minimum of 8 gigabyte or 8 gigabit RAM. Okay, if you have 6 gigabit RAMs, then definitely the program will be slower. And this will slow down your collaboration. It needs a certain type of software to collaborate smoothly over the network. If you have less specs for that, it works, but it will take more time to load the changes on the network. Then you have to remove this obstacle, if you consider it obstacle, but it's impediment. Why? Because you are slowing down, you are not stopping. Cool? Great?
For example, impediment, like if you're waiting for a decision from the board of governance or the
It's impediment.
impediment,
Yeah.
like there's something in the policy saying
Yeah.
unless you have a permission.
Authority
from the
approvals, yes. In order to get, for example, the civil defense approval, or to get the Baladiya approval, or municipality approval, the Ministry of Commerce approval, Ministry of Interior approval, all of those will be impediments if they are slowing down your work. Are they slowing down your work? Sure. For example, DC1 will take you 2 months. DC2 will take this approvals for design process, and you should get them. Take you 2 months from uploading this. It's the best case scenario that they are not delaying your process. For the DC2, the second approval for construction projects in design phase, it will take you. Thank you. We'll see you later. 6 months minimum. So it depends on where you work, what your project is, and what are the requirements for that either blocker, impediment, or obstacle. Is it cool?
But we cannot say that all permits are embedded. Sometimes those permits are blockers because sometimes we cannot do this kind of work without this permission.
Yeah, but they are. You can continue working on other things, right?
That's why it says all three terms could be used interchangeably.
Yeah, definitely.
So sometimes that can become a blocker.
So now the summary of this presentation. I don't care much of how to understand what is this. Is it a blocker, or impediment, or an obstacle? I just need you to understand that those three are different, and those are the differences between the three. Are you going to be asked in the exam, in this situation, are you removing an impediment, or are you removing a blocker, or are you removing an obstacle? This will not happen. They will not ask you about such things. Your obligation as a project manager, or a leader, or a master, or a scrum master, which I'll be discussing later, is to remove those. Cool? And those are the levels of three. Any more questions?
So I wanted the approach is correct.
Sorry?
Is the approach is correct?
I don't know, to be honest, because when you were discussing that, I was thinking about what I'll be explaining. I'm so sorry. So I need to go through them to compare if they are correct or not, but most probably they are correct, because I saw there is a process, and usually it depends on you as a project manager, or the ground rules for the teams and the project team, or the organization. So even if they are mentioned in a certain standard that those are the processes in your organization, it might be different. Cool? But I promise you I'll go through them. I'm sorry for that, but I have to give an answer, and I cannot give the answer yes or no now. Cool. What I was thinking about while she was explaining this specific slide is to give you a short break of 5 minutes, because